The wink that changed everything. Jace was just a delivery worker. He wasn't special. He flew between planets, dropped off boxes, and kept his head low. No one remembered his name, and that was fine with him. But that changed the day he took the wrong turn. He landed on a quiet moon, one he didn't remember on the map. His ship had followed a strange signal, soft, like a whisper in his head. When he got out, the ground was cold and smooth like glass. The sky was purple, and strange black towers floated above him like ghosts. He found a door. It opened by itself. Jace stepped inside. Books, thousands of them, maybe millions. The place looked like a library, but not the kind humans made. The shelves were alive. They moved. They whispered. They watched him. "Hello," he called out. No answer, just silence. He walked slowly between the shelves. The books had no titles. Some were glowing. One floated beside him, opened, and showed a picture of him. "What is this place?" he whispered. "You finally came back," said a soft voice behind him. Jace spun around. She stood there, calm and still. An alien woman, tall and slim, with skin like starlight and eyes that glowed silver. She wore a long robe, and her hands were behind her back. Her head tilted slightly, and then she winked at him. Jace blinked. "Do I?" "No, do you?" She smiled. "Not yet, but you will." His heart beat faster. "What is this place?" "The Galactic Archive," she said. "A library of all memories. I'm just a delivery guy." "No, you are not," she said. Jace felt strange, like a puzzle piece inside him had moved. He backed away. "Look, I think I came to the wrong place. I'll go now." "Do you remember the Flame City?" she asked. He froze. Something burned in his chest. Not pain, not fear, something forgotten. "I don't know what that is," he lied. She took a step closer. "You once saved a girl there. A girl with a broken wing. You wrapped her in your coat and hid her from the fire." Jace shook his head. "No, you've got the wrong guy." But his hands were shaking. She raised one finger and touched a book. It opened. It showed an image. Him, younger, holding a small alien child, running through flames. Jace stepped back. "I never did that." "You forgot. On purpose." His mind was spinning. Why would I forget something like that? The alien librarian looked at him gently, because it was the only way to protect her. A loud sound echoed through the halls. Boom. Jace turned. The shelves were shaking. The lights above flickered. Something big was moving through the library. "What's that?" he asked. "The Guardians," she said calmly. "They don't know who you are yet, but they will." Jace looked around, panicking. "I need to get out of here." She walked toward him and placed a small glowing crystal in his palm. "Hold this. When the time comes, it will show you the truth." "What truth?" She looked into his eyes. "Your past was taken, but it was never lost. I've waited a long time for you, Jace." "How do you know my name?" he asked. She gave him a sad smile. Then she vanished, just disappeared, like smoke in the wind. And behind him, the ground cracked. From the floor, a large guardian rose, a creature made of stone and fire. Its eyes glowed red. It stared at Jace. "Identity confirmed," it said in a deep voice. "Target, the lost guardian. Eliminate." Jace ran. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know the alien librarian. But he knew one thing. Everything had changed the moment she winked at him. The pages that speak. The stone guardian chased Jace through the shifting halls of the alien library. Its heavy steps made the floor shake. The air smelled like fire and ash. Every time Jace looked back, he saw glowing red eyes getting closer. He didn't know why the thing was hunting him. He didn't know why the librarian had vanished. And he didn't know why that strange crystal in his hand felt warm, like it was alive. As he ran, The shelves began to move on their own. They twisted and slid, opening new paths. Some shelves slammed shut behind him, blocking the Guardian's way. Was the library helping him? Jace turned a corner and stumbled into a quiet chamber. The walls were tall and round like a dome. Hundreds of floating books spun slowly in the air, glowing with soft light. He panted, trying to catch his breath. The Guardian's footsteps faded. For now. In the middle of the room stood a single pedestal. The crystal in his hand pulsed gently. He walked to the pedestal and placed the crystal on it. Suddenly, the room lit up. A book floated down from above. It was old but glowing, its cover made of metal and glass. As it opened in front of Jace, strange symbols danced across the pages. Then, slowly, the symbols turned into words he could understand. His name appeared on the page. Jace Kepler. His heart skipped a beat. Under his name, a line appeared. Former protector of the Flame City. Forgotten by choice. Remembered by fate. His hands trembled. This can't be real. The next page showed images, like living memories. He saw a young version of himself in armor, running through a burning alien city. Fire fell from the sky. People screamed. He saw himself helping wounded aliens, saving children, fighting soldiers in black armor. And then he saw her, the alien girl with silver eyes and broken wings. She was small, weak, and scared. He wrapped his coat around her, carried her through the fire, whispered something in her ear. Then the memory stopped. Jace stepped back. I don't remember this. I've never been in a war. I'm just a delivery worker, said a soft voice behind him. Jace turned fast. The alien librarian stood there again, calm as before. Her long robe shimmered in the light of the room. Her silver eyes looked tired, but kind. You left that part behind, she said, but it never truly left you. What's happening to me? Jace asked. You were a protector, she said. You stood against a great enemy. And when the war ended, you chose to forget. It was the only way to keep her safe. Keep who safe? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and touched the book. The pages flipped fast, stopping at another memory. Jace watched. He saw himself standing before a tall alien woman in a golden robe. The woman held the little silver-eyed girl by the hand. They both looked sad. His memories must be sealed, the tall woman said. It's the only way. Jace nodded. Do it. The woman placed a crystal to his forehead. Light, pain, and then darkness. The memory ended. Jace stood in silence. Why did I do that? He asked. Because they were still hunting her, the librarian said. Your mind held the key to her location. By forgetting, you erased the trail. You became invisible. Jace looked down at his hands. So, who was she? That little girl. The librarian stepped closer. You don't recognize me. Jace's eyes widened. It was you. She nodded slowly. You saved me, carried me through fire, gave me hope. And I waited all these years for the day you would return. But I didn't return, Jace whispered. I forgot you. You did what you had to, she said, but now the seal is breaking, because the enemy has found us again. The room shook, the lights flickered. The librarian looked up. They're inside the library. Who? The ones who started the war, the ones who destroyed Flame City. They're coming for the book, and for you. Jace stared at the open pages. His past was written there, page by page, memory by memory. If they got their hands on it, they could twist everything. We have to destroy it, he said. No, the librarian said. If the book is destroyed, your true self will vanish forever. And so will I. Then what do we do? She looked at him with a serious face. You must awaken the guardian inside you. Me? I ran from that stone thing. Not that one, she said. The real one. The one buried deep inside you. How? She took his hand and placed it on the page with his name. Suddenly, light burst from the book and flowed into his chest. Jace cried out, dropping to his knees. His mind exploded with images, battlefields, laughter, tears, promises. And one memory stood out. Her voice. Small, soft, afraid. Promise me you'll come back one day. And his voice. I will. Even if I forget, my heart will remember. He opened his eyes. Something inside him had changed. The librarian looked at him with tears in her eyes. Welcome back, Jace. A loud boom shook the floor. The enemy had entered the sacred chamber. Jace stood up. Stronger, clearer, more awake than before. He looked at the librarian. Then let's protect this place. She smiled. And this time, he was the one who winked. Secrets of the Forbidden Wing. The doors of the sacred chamber slammed open. Dark figures stepped inside. 5 of them. Tall, armored, and silent. Their faces were hidden behind black masks with glowing red eyes. Each one held a long staff crackling with dark energy. Jace didn't wait. He grabbed the glowing book and held it close to his chest. The crystal the librarian gave him began to pulse again, faster this time, like it was warning him. Follow me, the librarian said quickly. They ran through a narrow hallway. The floating books above them zipped away like frightened birds. The walls of the library shifted and twisted again, opening a new path just for them. Where are we going? Jace asked, breathing hard. The Forbidden Wing, she said without looking back. Why is it forbidden? Because that's where the truth lives. Behind them, the footsteps of the hunters echoed louder and louder. They reached a tall door. It was covered in symbols Jace couldn't read. The librarian raised her hand. The symbols glowed blue, then green, then gold. The door opened. They stepped into darkness. As soon as they entered, the door shut behind them and vanished completely. Now, they stood in a wide circular room, filled with strange machines and glowing walls. Books floated in liquid glass. Massive screens showed planets Jace didn't recognize. And in the center, there was a sphere made of light and shadows, spinning slowly. What is this place? Jace asked, staring around. The Forbidden Wing, the librarian said. This is where the library keeps memories that were erased or hidden from the galaxy. Jace stepped closer to the glowing sphere. It pulsed like a heart. This place is alive, he whispered. Yes, she said, and it remembers what others try to forget. The sphere glowed brighter. A beam of light shot out from it and touched Jace's forehead. His body froze. His mind opened. Visions crashed into him. He saw a younger version of himself, laughing with alien children in a village under twin suns. He saw himself training with other warriors, learning how to fight, not with anger, but with purpose. He saw the librarian as a child, holding a broken doll, crying in the ashes of her home. And he saw himself lifting her up, holding her hand, and whispering, "As long as I breathe, you'll never be alone." The light faded. Jace fell to his knees. I remember more now, he said. Not everything, but enough. The librarian nodded. You were a peacekeeper, part of the Guardian Court. We were trained to protect history, knowledge, and life. Why did we lose? Because the enemy didn't care about truth. They cared only about control. And you became their greatest threat. So they erased me. No, she said softly. You chose it. To protect me. To protect the last memory of Flame City. Me. Jace stood slowly, looking around the glowing chamber. Then why are they here now? Why after all this time? The librarian walked to a nearby wall and touched a symbol. A hidden door opened. Behind it was a dark book, different from all the others. It was cold, heavy, and locked with silver chains. Because of this, she said. What is it? The Forbidden Record, she whispered. It holds the truth about what really ended the war. Not what the galaxy was told, but what actually happened. Jace stepped closer. What happened? You, she said. You were the one who stopped the final weapon. Not with a gun, not with power, but with a deal. A deal. You gave up your memories in exchange for peace. The enemy agreed to a secret treaty. Your past would be erased. The truth would be buried. And you would become no one. Jace stared at the chained book. So I was the cost of peace. Yes, she said quietly. And now they want to erase you again. But this time, completely. Body and soul. The ground shook. The wall cracked. One of the black-masked hunters burst through, staff raised. Jace jumped in front of the librarian. The hunter's staff shot a bolt of dark energy, but Jace moved fast, like his body remembered things his mind forgot. He grabbed a floating book and used it like a shield. The blast hit the book, and it exploded in a flash of light. More hunters appeared behind. "We're out of time," the librarian said. She touched the chained book. The chains unlocked with a hiss. The book opened. Light filled the room. The hunters screamed, covering their faces. Jace and the librarian vanished into the beam. They appeared in a small round room with one window showing stars. A hidden escape chamber. The librarian coughed and leaned on the wall. The book took us to a safe room deep inside the library's core. Jace helped her sit down. He looked out the window. The stars were spinning slowly. "How much time do we have before they find us again?" "Not long," she said. "They'll tear the library apart if they have to." Jace clenched his fists. "Then we don't hide. We fight." The librarian looked up, surprised. "You're remembering." "No," he said. "I'm becoming who I was meant to be." He opened the forbidden record again. Inside were pages of glowing text, showing everything the galaxy had forgotten. How Jace had convinced the enemy general to stop the war. How he gave up his name, his past, and even his love to protect the last child of Flame City. How the librarian was that child, and the only one left who knew the truth. Jace looked at her. "You waited for me all these years." She nodded slowly. "You promised." Jace placed a hand on the glowing book. "Then let's make the truth known." Outside the window, ships arrived. Warships. The enemy was here. And this time, they wouldn't leave without a fight. Escape from knowledge. The stars outside the window were no longer still. Huge black warships now hovered in the sky above the library. They blocked the light. They circled like vultures. Their engines growled like beasts waiting to strike. Deep inside the library's core, Jace stood beside the alien librarian. The forbidden book still glowed in his hands. Its pages pulsed with truth, truth powerful enough to shake the galaxy. "They've surrounded us," the librarian said softly, her voice tired. "No one has ever escaped once the Seekers arrive." "Then let's be the first," Jace replied, his eyes calm but burning with purpose. He turned to her. "Tell me there's a way out." She hesitated, then slowly nodded. "There is, but it's dangerous, and only you can open the path." "Why me?" "Because this library still remembers who you were." Jace looked at the walls. They shimmered faintly, almost like they were listening. Then he looked down at the glowing crystal in his hand. It still pulsed, like a heartbeat. "What do I do?" "Follow me," she said. They left the hidden chamber and entered a long tunnel that curved downward. The walls here were different, older, made of black stone etched with silver runes. Books no longer floated here. It was cold, forgotten. "Where are we going?" Jace asked. "To the library's spine," she said. "It's the oldest part of this place. Even the Seekers fear to enter it." As they walked, Jace noticed something strange. The further they went, the more the tunnel changed. It began to look less like a library, and more like a living thing. The walls pulsed gently, like breath. The floor was soft underfoot, like skin. "What is this place, really?" he asked. The librarian paused. "The library was not built," she said. "It was grown. Long ago, by a forgotten race. They believed knowledge should live, breathe, and protect itself. This entire place is alive." Jace looked around, amazed. "So it's not just a building. It's a mind." She nodded. "And you were once its guardian." They reached a huge door, tall, round, and sealed tight. No handles, no buttons. Only a circle in the center that glowed faintly. Jace stepped forward. The crystal in his hand began to burn hotter. "Place it there," the librarian said. Jace pressed the crystal into the circle. The door shook. Then slowly it opened. Behind it was a spiral staircase made of light. They stepped onto it, and instantly everything changed. They were no longer in a tunnel. Now they floated inside a massive chamber, miles wide and full of glowing threads of energy. Giant floating books, gears, and machines spun silently in the air. It was like standing inside the brain of a god. This was the spine. "This is the library's last escape route," the librarian said. "But it's more than that. It's a test. A test." She nodded. "Only those the library truly trusts can pass through." Suddenly, the spiral path began to break apart behind them. Threads of dark energy snapped and flew like whips. "They're already inside," Jace said. They ran. Meanwhile, above in the main halls of the library, the Seekers moved like shadows. They burned books, smashed machines. Their staffs sent out dark pulses that erased memories from the shelves. "Find the record," one of them hissed. "Find the guardian." But the library fought back. Walls shifted. Doors vanished. Stairs turned into slides. Books flew at the Seekers like angry birds, slamming into their helmets, blinding them. But the Seekers were patient, cold, unstoppable, and they were getting closer. Back in the spine, Jace and the librarian reached a bridge made of glowing glass. Below them floated a huge memory core, a glowing orb spinning with every story the library had ever held. But now it flickered. Cracks formed in its surface. "The core is dying," the librarian said. "If it breaks, the whole library will fall. Then we don't have much time." They crossed the bridge, but halfway across, Jace heard a loud screech. A Seeker had found them. It flew above the bridge using dark wings made of energy. Its eyes locked on Jace. It raised its staff. "Run," the librarian shouted. Jace turned and sprinted. The Seeker fired. The beam missed, but shattered part of the bridge. Jace jumped, barely making it to the other side. The librarian reached out and grabbed his hand, pulling him up. But the Seeker was already above them, charging again. Jace turned around. "Get to the gate," he shouted. The librarian hesitated. "Go," he said. As she ran, Jace reached for the book again. He opened it and whispered something. The forbidden record glowed brighter than ever. A wall of golden light shot up behind him, blocking the Seeker. It screamed and flew back. The book in Jace's hand cracked. "Almost there," he muttered. They reached the end of the bridge. A glowing gate stood there, shaped like a circle of fire and light. "How do we open it?" Jace asked. The librarian stepped forward. "You don't." She pressed her hand against the light. Her silver eyes turned brighter. "What are you doing?" Jace asked. "This gate needs a memory to open," she said. "A memory freely given." "Wait." "No." But it was too late. Light surrounded her. The gate opened, and she collapsed. Jace caught her in his arms. "Why?" he whispered. "Because you gave everything for me once," she said, barely breathing. "Now, it's my turn." "No," Jace said. "We go together." He picked her up and stepped through the gate. The world changed. Bright white light filled everything. And then, quiet. Jace opened his eyes. They were no longer in the library. They stood on a quiet mountaintop, under a sky full of stars. The library was gone. He looked down. The librarian was still in his arms, but fading like mist. "No," he said. "Stay with me." She smiled. "You remembered me," she whispered. "That's all I ever wanted." "Don't go," he begged. But she was already gone. The wind blew gently. He looked at the crystal in his hand. It now glowed with her light. The book beside him opened on its own. The last page was written. "Escape successful. Truth preserved. The Guardian lives." Jace looked up at the stars. "I'll finish what we started," he said. Behind him, a small spark of light floated. Soft, silent, and watching. The memory vault. The stars above Jace were quiet. He stood on the lonely mountaintop, holding the crystal in his hand. It was glowing softly now, no longer just a tool. It was a part of someone he had just lost. The librarian. She had saved him. She had opened the gate. And now, she was gone. Jace didn't cry. He couldn't. His heart felt full and empty at the same time. He had remembered too much. And still, it didn't feel like enough. The wind carried whispers. Not real words. Just feelings. Memories. And something inside Jace told him this wasn't the end of her. Not yet. The mountain was not just a place. It was the start of something older. Below it, hidden under the rocks, was a door. Jace didn't know how he knew. He just felt it. He followed the pull of the crystal. Step by step, he walked down the side of the mountain until he reached a cliff that led to a quiet cave. The cave was dark. But the moment he stepped inside, the walls lit up with symbols. His name appeared across the stone. Not just Jace, but all the names he had carried before he forgot. Warrior, peacekeeper, guardian. At the end of the cave stood a vault. Round, huge, sealed. He stepped toward it. The crystal floated from his hand and locked into the center of the vault like a key. With a soft sound, the vault opened. Inside was not treasure, not weapons, but a single glowing chair and a helmet made of gold and glass. He stepped inside the vault slowly. The chair seemed ancient. Vines of light ran across it. The helmet above it floated in place, waiting. And then he heard a voice. His own, but younger, more confident. It echoed across the vault. "If you're hearing this, it means the peace has failed. It means the seekers have returned. It means you remembered something." Jace stood still. His voice continued. "You chose this, not because you were afraid, but because you loved her. You saw what they did to her people, to her home, and you promised her safety, even if it meant losing yourself." Jace felt his chest tighten. This vault holds the memory they could never erase. The truth. And the plan. The helmet floated closer. "Put it on." Jace hesitated, then slowly reached out. He placed the helmet on his head. And suddenly, everything changed. His mind exploded with images. They weren't just memories. They were the full story. The war had been bigger than anyone knew. It had started with lies, false history, twisted by the seekers. They erased cultures, burned records, and rewrote time. Their only fear was the truth. Jace had been one of the few who knew what really happened. And the librarian. She had been the last survivor of a people called the Nyara, keepers of emotional memory. Her kind didn't just remember things. They could feel history, carry it in their hearts, and pass it down. The seekers feared them most of all. And so they hunted them to extinction. Flame City was the last Nyari stronghold. Jace had led the evacuation. He had saved the librarian when she was just a child. But that wasn't all. He had made a choice. He struck a secret deal with the enemy general. The war would end. The seekers would retreat. But Jace would give up his identity, his memories, and his connection to the Nyari. He would disappear. The only way to keep her safe was to make the galaxy forget him. And so the deal was made. A crystal was used. Memories were sealed, and Jace became just a delivery worker, floating between forgotten stars. But now, the seal was broken, and the plan was not finished. His voice echoed once more inside the vault. If the day ever comes when the library falls, when she is gone, and you are alone again, go to the place of first light. There, the last living memory of the Nyari waits. The vault lit up. A map appeared in the air, a glowing path to a distant planet, hidden in the edge of the galaxy. A place called Elene. Jace pulled off the helmet. Sweat dripped down his face. His heart was pounding. So this was it. This was where the real story led. The librarian had left him more than just memories. She had left him a final path. A mission. A chance to bring the truth back to the galaxy. He left the vault, climbed back up the mountain, and looked to the stars. In the distance, his ship still floated above the rocks. Dusty, dented, but still loyal. He entered it, placed the crystal inside the main console, and started the engines. The ship lit up with new energy. The crystal connected to the system, unlocking files, hidden tools, maps, and powers Jace never knew existed. She had prepared all of this, while she waited, while he forgot. The ship lifted into the sky. Above him, space stretched wide and dark. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, a world of memory called to him. Elene. He set the course. And as the stars moved outside his window, Jace whispered to himself, "I'm coming." But on a distant moon, far from the mountain, something stirred. A single seeker, wounded, broken but alive, crawled out of the fallen ruins of the library. Its helmet was cracked, its eyes dim, but its mind still burned with one thought. The Guardian lives. And now, the great machine would wake. The old enemy would rise again. And this time, they would not allow the truth to escape. The battle for the library. Space stretched silently around Jace's ship as it flew through the stars, guided by the glowing crystal. He had no destination once, no purpose. But now, his memories were returning, and with them, so was his fire. He was not just a delivery man. He had once been the Guardian, protector of memory, peacekeeper of truth. Now he was going back to finish what he started. But deep in the black of space, danger moved too. A massive dark station, shaped like a spinning eye, awakened. Red lights burned across its surface. Inside it, the last Seeker commander stood in front of a cold silver throne. "The Guardian has returned," said one voice. "The Nyari's light burns again," said another. "Then the library must fall," whispered the third. Hundreds of Seeker warships left the station, flying like a swarm of metal bees, and leading them, the final machine, an ancient planet-killing weapon. It had no name, only a purpose: erase the truth. Jace didn't know what was coming, but he felt it. The closer he got to the Nyari world of Elene, the stronger the pull in his chest became. The crystal in his ship was glowing like a sun. Images flickered across his screen. Memories, stars, broken cities, and one pair of eyes. Her eyes. The librarian's silver eyes. They watched him even now. His ship dropped out of warp near a bright blue planet surrounded by rings of white light. Elene. He hovered above its surface. But there was no welcome signal. No sound. Just silence. He landed in the ruins of a forgotten temple. Vines grew over ancient statues. Strange flowers bloomed from cracks. The air was warm and still. He walked alone through the ruins, holding the crystal like a lantern. And then, the walls of the temple lit up. Light symbols formed. A soft hum echoed through the stones. A hidden platform rose from the ground. And standing on it was her. But not fully. She was made of light. A memory. A recording. The librarian looked just as she had in her final moment. Calm. Strong. full of love. Her voice came softly. If you've reached this place, then you remembered me. Jace stepped closer. His heart beat fast. The world has forgotten the Nairi, she said, but I never forgot you, even when you forgot me. The memory raised her hand. A second crystal floated out of her chest. Combine this with yours. The truth will awaken. Jace took the second crystal. The moment he held both, a surge of energy rushed through him. He saw stars fall. Wars begin. Lies rise. And then, a single truth. The Seekers were never the true rulers. They were created to protect knowledge, but they became hungry for control. They rewrote history to serve their machine masters. Jace had once stopped them by giving up everything. Now, he had to stop them again. The memory looked at him one last time. We were more than guardian and girl. We were the last hope. Bring them back, Jace. Bring back the truth. The light faded. The memory disappeared. But the truth stayed in his hands. He had what the Seekers feared most, the full record. Outside, the sky changed. Dark shapes covered the stars. The Seekers had arrived. Their ships rained down fire on the old world. Jace ran back to his ship. He placed the 2 crystals into the ship's core. A bright light exploded from the engines. Systems unlocked. Weapons activated. The ship changed. It was no longer a delivery craft. It became something ancient and powerful. The last guardian vessel. Library protocol activated, said the ship's eye. Jace sat in the pilot's seat. Take me back to the library. The library was broken. Its towers had fallen. Books burned in the wind. The Seekers had taken control. In the center of the ruins, they planted the planet killer machine. Its massive core glowed red. They were going to destroy the library forever. Erase the last trace of the Nairi. Erase the truth. But Jace arrived like lightning from the sky. His ship tore through their lines, cutting through warships with light cannons and memory beams. He landed in the heart of the ruins. The Seekers surrounded him, but he wasn't afraid. He stepped out alone. They aimed their weapons, but he raised his hand, and the combined crystal glowed like a sun. A wave of energy exploded outward. The books on the ground flew up. The shelves rebuilt. The air shimmered. The library woke up again. And then she returned. The librarian's voice filled the air. Not just in memory, but in presence. Her light form appeared beside Jace, real and glowing. You carried me here, she whispered. I told you I would, Jace said. Together, they walked to the machine. The Seekers screamed and charged, but the library fought back. Shelves turned into walls. Books turned into blades. The very floor shifted under the enemy's feet, and at the center, Jace placed the crystal into the machine's core. There was silence. Then a flash, not of destruction, but of memory. Every Seeker stopped moving. They saw what they had erased. The children they burned, the cities they crushed, the promises they broke. The machine screamed, but it was too late. Truth had returned. The library rebuilt itself in light. The Seekers dropped their weapons. One by one, they faded into dust. The machine cracked, broke, and vanished. And in the center of it all stood Jace and the librarian, side by side, whole again. It's over, Jace said. No, she replied. It's just beginning. Above them, stars shifted. The library's light spread across the sky. And across the galaxy, the truth began to wake. The choice he must make. The stars were no longer silent. Across the galaxy, the truth had returned. From small farming planets to giant floating cities, people looked up as silver light filled the skies. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a threat. It was a memory wave, a signal sent by the library itself. It carried truth. Lost names, forgotten battles, erased promises, and one message repeated across every star system. Knowledge belongs to all, not to those who erase, but to those who remember. People who had been lied to their whole lives dropped to their knees. Soldiers who once followed the seekers removed their helmets. Children heard stories of heroes they never knew existed. And one name echoed again and again: Jace. On the library's rooftop, now rebuilt in glowing white stone, Jace stood with the alien librarian beside him. The sky above was filled with memory birds, creatures made of pure light and knowledge. They circled the towers, singing songs of ancient times. Below, books floated gently through the air, finding their rightful places back on the shelves. The library had healed, but Jace had not. He looked at the librarian, his eyes full of quiet sadness. "It's strange," he said softly. "Now that I remember everything, I feel like something's still missing." She turned to him. "What do you mean?" He touched his chest. "My past is back, but my heart still feels unfinished." She reached out and placed her hand over his. "Maybe it's not your past," she said. "Maybe it's your future." Jace smiled faintly. "I was never supposed to be a leader. I was just a protector." "And that's what makes you one," she said. A soft bell rang through the halls. The library's core had a message. The librarian walked to the glowing console. Words appeared in the air. "Incoming council transmission. Urgent." She looked at Jace. "They know the truth now. The Galactic Council wants to speak with you." Jace looked down at the silver floor. "They'll want to thank me." "Yes. And then they'll ask me what to do next." She didn't answer, because they both knew it was true. Jace had become more than a symbol. He had become a question the whole galaxy now waited to answer. They entered the council chamber, a glowing circle of light surrounded by holograms of leaders from every known system. Humans, aliens, machines, even floating energy beings. All looked at him. One voice spoke. "We received the full record, the memory vault, the war, the truth. We owe you." Another voice added, "You ended the war twice, and never raised your hand in hate." A third one said, "The Seekers are gone. Their machine is broken. The stars are quiet again." Then the question came. "What now, Guardian?" Jace stood in silence, then spoke slowly. "The library is not mine," he said. "It belongs to everyone. No more locked wings. No more erased stories. Every world, every race, every voice deserves to be remembered." The council nodded. "And you?" Someone asked. "Will you lead us?" Jace looked at the librarian, then turned back. "I was never meant to lead. I protect. That's what I do." He took a breath. "But I will stay here, in the library, to make sure no one ever forgets again." After the meeting, the librarian found him sitting on the high balcony, staring at the stars. "You could have ruled them all," she said. "I don't want to rule," Jace replied. "I want to live." She sat beside him. Wind moved through her silver hair. "You gave up everything for me," she said. "I'd do it again. Even now." He turned to her. His voice was low. Honest. "Yes." She reached into her robe and pulled out a final memory crystal. It was small, glowing gently. "There's one memory you never unlocked," she said. "Why?" "Because it was mine," she whispered. "And now, I want to share it." She placed the crystal into his hand. It sank into his skin, and Jace's eyes widened. He saw a memory of her as a child, alone, hidden in a broken house during the war. Soldiers marched outside. Fire fell from the sky. And then he appeared, younger Jace, dressed in Guardian armor, running through the smoke. She screamed, and he turned, eyes full of light. He didn't speak. He just picked her up, wrapped her in his coat, and whispered, "I promise you, I'll always come back." And then she had whispered back, "And I'll wait forever if I have to." The memory faded. Tears rolled down Jace's face, not from pain, but from something deeper. He looked at her. "You remembered that all this time?" She nodded. "It was the first real moment of my life." He took her hand, and for the first time since the war, they held each other like nothing else mattered. Days passed, then weeks. Jace helped rebuild more than just the library. He traveled to burned planets, helped restore broken temples, opened truth archives, and brought back voices that were erased. People called him Guardian. But he told them, "Just call me Jace." He never wore armor again. He didn't need it, because people were finally starting to remember. But one day, deep in the quiet halls of the librarian asked him something unexpected. "If you had one last choice to make," she said, "what would it be?" He looked up from a book. "Only one." "Yes." "Then I choose this," he said. He closed the book, stood, and walked to her. He took her hand again, and whispered, "Stay." She smiled, and whispered back, "Always." The stars outside were no longer quiet. They sang, not of war, not of loss, but of a man who forgot everything and still chose love.